I still remember the moment I found out everything was a lie. It hit me like a punch to the gut, cold and sudden. I was supposed to be celebrating our wedding, surrounded by friends, love in the air. Instead, that night's glow faded fast when I saw the truth with my own eyes, hidden in a hallway of the hotel. My wife, Lisa, holding someone else's face, kissing him like she couldn't get enough. It was so raw, so undeniable. And right there in the dim light, I saw the unmistakable movement of their lips, the way her hands clutched at his shirt, desperate and eager. My stomach twisted. My knees almost buckled. I wanted to run, scream, or just disappear into the floor. But I couldn't look away. My eyes burned as I stared through the crack in the door, trying to process what I was seeing. That man, my best man, Jake, was there, his hands on her waist, his mouth pressed to her neck like he was trying to drown in her. I'd trusted him, I'd trusted her, and yet there they were betraying me so blatantly, and it wasn't just the kiss. No, I saw the way. She clung to him for a second longer than necessary, her fingers digging into his back like she was trying to hide something. I felt my hands tighten into fists, the sharp pulse of anger and disbelief coursing through me. How could I have missed the signs? Or was I just blind? Earlier that day, I'd noticed her acting strange, long pauses when I tried to talk, her sudden obsession with her phone, a quick glance in the mirror that seemed like she was hiding something. I brushed it aside, thinking she was just stressed or tired. But now I knew better. She'd been hiding something very big. The thing that's resonated with me most is the way my chest felt, like someone sitting on it, squeezing tight, making it hard to breathe. I felt sweat bead on my forehead, palms slick with nervous energy. The world had suddenly shifted. All that planning, all those promises we made felt like ashes in my mouth. I didn't know if I should be furious, devastated, or just numb. I already knew one thing. This wasn't going to stay hidden for long. I took a step back, pressing my shoulder against the wall, trying to hold onto some fragment of control. How many signs had I ignored? How many times had I wondered if she was hiding something? The truth was, I felt betrayed to my core. My jaw clenched so tightly my teeth hurt. I wanted to yell, to break something, but instead I just watched them kiss again, and that's when I knew I had to do something. Not just react, plan. Because I wanted her to feel what I was feeling now, maybe worse. The hotel corridor was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioning and the muffled footsteps from the ballroom. I knew I had to be careful. I didn't want to make a scene then and there, not in front of everyone. Instead, I waited, my mind racing, trying to piece together what to do next. How do you handle a betrayal like this? How do you even start to process it? I looked down at my hand, clenched into a fist, trying to steady the tremor in my fingers. My mind kept circling back to that kiss, how perfect it looked, how real they seemed. And I realized this was just the surface. There were deeper lies, bigger secrets I hadn't yet uncovered. My stomach sank with the thought that maybe everything in our life together was a lie, built on moments like this I never suspected. I knew I couldn't just walk away quietly. I had to make her pay in a way that would hit her where it hurt. But I also knew I needed to be smart. I couldn't afford to make mistakes. This was going to be a game of patience, of calculated moves. So I stayed behind that door, watching, waiting, feeling my blood boil. I told myself I'd get her back. Not just for the betrayal, but for the years I'd given her, the trust I'd placed in her. Because I'd be damned if I let her walk away from this without consequences. That night, lying in bed, everything in me shifted. I saw her sleeping peacefully, unaware of my discovery. I felt a cold fire ignite inside, and I knew one thing. I'd find a way to make her regret every moment of her betrayal. I'd turn her world upside down, but I'd do it on my terms. And when I was done, she'd wish she'd never crossed me. And that was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache, but my mind was sharper than ever. The image of her kissing Jake still haunted me, like a scar etched into my brain. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything I believed in was a lie. I had trusted her. I had trusted Jake. Now I wondered if I'd ever truly known either of them. I didn't want to confront her right away. That could blow everything. Instead, I started laying the groundwork, gathering proof and planning my moves. I needed evidence, something irrefutable that I could use to tear her world apart without leaving any doubt. The first thing I did was go through her phone. It was on the nightstand, right where she left it when she fell asleep. My hands shook as I unlocked it. My pulse hammered in my ears. I scrolled through her messages, her photos, her recent calls. Nothing too obvious yet. But then I found it, a hidden folder, password protected. My stomach twisted as I entered the code I'd guessed, her birth date. Inside were photos, not just of her and Jake, but also texts, flirtatious messages, the way she called him babe, and how he replied with "can't wait to see you again." The screenshots of their plans, dates, times, secret little emojis. It was all there, laid out like a map of her betrayal. I felt my jaw tighten so hard it hurt. My fists clenched, palms sweaty. I had what I needed now, proof. But I also realized the scope was bigger than just a kiss. This was a full-blown affair. I wrapped the evidence in a plastic bag and put it in a drawer, knowing I'd need it later. Then I sat there trying to process what I'd just uncovered. My mind replayed her every touch, every word in the past months. Had I missed the signs, or had she been careful? I couldn't tell anymore. I wanted to confront her right then, to force her to admit everything. But I knew better. If I did that now, she'd just lie, deny, or worse, cover her tracks. I needed her to slip up again, to say something that gave her away. So I decided to play the waiting game. My plan was simple but calculated. I'd pretend everything was normal, at least outwardly. Inside, I'd be gathering more proof, watching her, and waiting for her to make her next move, because I had a feeling this wasn't just about one night or one kiss. This was a pattern, a betrayal that had been building for a while. Later that day, I found myself walking into the living room, pretending to be casual. She was sitting on the couch, flipping through her phone, her face innocent but her eyes too quick to look away. I kept my tone even. "So, how was your morning?" She looked up, a little nervous. "Good, just a little tired." I gave her a small smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "That's good, I've been thinking about us. Things have felt off lately, hasn't it?" She hesitated but nodded. "Maybe, I guess I've just been stressed. Really, because I found something last night." I watched her reaction closely, seeing her shoulders tense. "Your phone," I went through it. Her face paled. What are you talking about?" I pulled out the evidence folder, just enough to make her see I was serious. "This. Flirty messages. Secret photos. The way you call him babe, Lisa. Care to explain what's going on?" Her eyes flickered, panic flashing for a second. "It's nothing, just some stupid joke, I swear." "I don't buy it," I interrupted. My voice was calm but firm. "You've been lying to me, putting someone else before us." She looked away, trembling. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of the betrayal crashing down. "You're damn right it went too far, but I'm not done, not yet." I knew I had to keep her cornered, keep her guessing. Because the real game had just begun. I was planning something that would make her regret ever crossing me. The pieces were in place and I was ready to execute. Looking at her now, I realized I'd never see her the same way again. Trust was shattered, gone for good. And I was about to make sure she knew exactly what that meant. The evening came faster than I expected, and with it, a strange calm settled over me. I'd been meticulously planning for days now, and everything was falling into place. I had the evidence, I had my game plan. Now it was only about executing it and watching her fall apart. Lisa was acting strange. She avoided my gaze, her hands nervously fidgeting with her phone. When I asked her about dinner, she said she was tired and wanted to order something simple. I didn't push her yet. Instead, I kept my focus on making her feel normal while secretly setting the trap. Later that night, I told her I had to run an errand. She looked surprised but nodded. I left the house, my stomach in knots but my mind clear. I went straight to the hotel where I had seen her and Jake the night before. I needed to do one more thing, something to make her realize I knew everything. Inside the hotel's parking garage, I found the room where they'd been. I slipped a small recording device into the lock of her hotel room door. It was a simple thing, but effective. When she opened the door, the device would start recording everything inside. I also left a note on her car. Nothing confrontational, just a simple message. "We need to talk tomorrow, be ready." By the time I got back home, I felt the adrenaline start to wear off, replaced by a strange sense of satisfaction. I was finally in control. She didn't know it yet, but her secret was no longer safe. I'd made sure of that. The next morning, I waited in the living room, watching her come downstairs with a forced calm. She looked exhausted, probably from lying awake all night, wondering what I knew. I wasn't about to give her a chance to deny anything. "Lisa," I said quietly, "we need to talk. Sit down." She hesitated, then sat across from me, her hands clutching her knees. "What's this about?" I pulled out the evidence folder and set it on the table. "This is what I found, the messages, the pictures, the plan. You've been lying to me for months." Her face crumpled. "I swear it's not what it looks like." I was stressed. Jake, he's just a friend. It meant nothing." "Oh, come on," I snapped, voice rising. "That's what you told me last night. Now I have proof of everything. You kissed him, Lisa, in the hallway. I saw it with my own eyes. How much more do I need to see before you admit it's over?" She looked away, tears pooling in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I made a mistake." That's when I revealed the next part of my plan. I pulled out my phone, showing her the recording I'd left in the hotel room. I pressed play. The muffled sounds of their voices, her breathless laughter, the way her hands betrayed her, everything was there. Her whole face turned pale. "You recorded us." "Yep," I said coldly. "And I've got more. This isn't just a one-time thing, Lisa. You've been cheating for months." "I'm done pretending." She broke down then, sobbing for real. "Please don't do this. I'll leave. I'll go far away." I shook my head, feeling a kind of numb rage. "It's too late for that. You're leaving, but not just yet." I handed her a folder with all the evidence. "This will be enough to end everything. The house, the car, your job, whatever. I want you out of my life. I want you gone by the end of the week." Her hands trembled as she looked at everything. "I never wanted to hurt you." I was stupid. I looked her in the eyes, feeling nothing but cold resolve. "Stupid is putting it lightly. You're done, Lisa. You're the one who's losing everything, your marriage, your reputation." As she packed her things that day, I watched her leave, feeling like I'd finally taken control. The house was empty now, echoing with silence. I sat on the couch, staring at the door, a strange mixture of relief and emptiness washing over me. But I knew the worst wasn't over. I had to keep my guard up. She'd try to come back, to manipulate or guilt her way into a new story. I was ready for that. I'd made my move, and now I was waiting for her to realize what she'd lost. And that's when I understood. Betrayal cuts deep, but revenge can be when you're the one in control. After she left, the house felt eerily silent. No more her footsteps, no more her voice, no more her presence. It was just me, surrounded by the evidence of her betrayal and the hollow ache of betrayal's aftermath. I thought I'd feel relief, maybe even happiness. But what I felt was something darker, like a cold, persistent itch that wouldn't go away. My mind kept circling back to how I'd get revenge, how I'd make her pay for what she'd done. I wasn't about to let her walk away unscathed, not after what I'd found out. I spent the next few days planning the perfect sting, a way to make her realize she'd messed with the wrong guy. I reached out to Jake. I didn't bother with pleasantries. I told him I knew everything. His silence on the other end was deafening. I could hear him swallowing hard. I wanted him to feel the weight of his actions. I told him I was going to destroy her, metaphorically of course, and that he was part of it. "You want to know what's coming?" I asked him plainly. "You and her, you're going to regret crossing me. I'm going to make sure everyone finds out what you've been doing, starting with the photos I have and the recordings. Trust me, Jake, I don't forget. I'm not the kind of guy who forgives easily." He stammered something about not wanting trouble, but I cut him off. "Good. Because I'm not about to give you a choice." I told him I'd be leaking everything to her friends, her family, and anyone who mattered, just enough to make her realize she'd lost her life over a stupid affair. Now I had to execute the next phase, completely dismantling her image, her reputation. I started compiling everything, screenshots, recordings, texts, and made a plan to release it slowly, a drip feed that would ensure maximum damage. I wanted her to feel helpless, exposed, humiliated. Meanwhile, I contacted a lawyer, not to start divorce proceedings just yet, but to understand my options. I wanted the legal side prepared, so I could cut her out cleanly when the time came. I wasn't going to be sloppy or emotional about this. I wanted to make sure I controlled the situation, that I had all the power. I also made sure my own social media was quiet. No signs of weakness, no crying for sympathy. I wanted her to see that I was cool, calculated, and that I was in control. That was how I was going to win this game. One afternoon, I received a text from an unknown number. It was a picture, one I hadn't expected to see. A shot of her, sitting in a smiling with Jake's arm around her. The caption, "Having a good time?" I felt my fists tighten. She was already moving on, acting like she hadn't done anything wrong. That lit the fire inside me even more. If she was going to pretend everything was fine, I'd make sure she paid in a way she'd never forget. My plan was simple: keep quiet for now, keep gathering evidence, and wait for the right moment. I decided to get a little more aggressive. I called her best friend, someone I trusted, and told her everything. I wanted her to know what Lisa was really like, how she'd betrayed me not just once but repeatedly. I told her if she wanted to stay loyal, she'd keep quiet. Otherwise, I'd be exposing everything. That night, as I sat alone, I felt a strange calm. I was in control now, and nothing was going to stop me from making her regret her choices. Her illusion of control was slipping away, piece by piece. I knew I had her cornered, and the more she tried to act normal, the more vulnerable she became. I poured myself a drink, took a deep breath, and stared at the evidence I had collected. This was just the beginning. When I finally released everything, photos, recordings, texts, I wanted her to feel like her world was crumbling, because she deserved to feel what it was like to be betrayed so completely. And as I leaned back, the realization hit me. I had already won. All that was left was to watch her fall, to see her realize she had nothing left. The thrill of revenge was addictive, but it was also a warning to never let your guard down, especially when someone you trust turns out to be your biggest enemy. The day I finally put my plan into motion felt surreal. I sat at my laptop, carefully scheduling the release of everything I'd gathered: photos, recordings, screenshots. I wanted to hit her with it all at once, but also in a way that would give her no chance to deny or hide. I knew she'd try to spin it, try to save face, but I was ready for that. I sent my first batch of evidence to her closest friends, people she thought she could trust. I kept the message vague but pointed. For those who care about her, here's the truth: she's been lying to everyone. I hit send and watched as the message was delivered. I felt a rush, the kind that comes with exacting revenge. The kind that makes your teeth clench and your palms sweat. She called me that night, but I ignored it. When I finally picked up, she was crying, begging, pleading. "Please don't do this. I swear I'll leave Jake. I'll leave everything behind. Just don't destroy me." I kept my voice steady. "Too late for that. You've been caught. Everyone will see who you really are." That's when I released the recordings. The muffled sounds of their secret meetings, her breathless whispers, her voice so desperate, everything. I watched her crumble over the phone, her sobs filling the silent room. Her voice cracked when she finally managed to speak. "You're ruining my life. I'll do anything, just please don't do this." I didn't answer. Instead, I kept pouring out the truth, more screenshots of their messages, more photos. I wanted her to see her reputation evaporate piece by piece. I'd made sure the evidence was airtight. This was the moment I'd been planning for. The fallout was immediate. I saw her social media profiles go dark, her friends message her in shock. I got texts from acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years, asking what was going on. The whispers started, rumors spreading fast. My phone buzzed nonstop, people questioning her, judging her. At first, she tried to reach out, begging for forgiveness, promising she'd change. But I had already made up my mind. I didn't want her to crawl back. I wanted her to feel the full weight of her betrayal. She'd lost her moral high ground, and I was the one crushing it. I went to see her in person a few days later. I found her sitting in her apartment, eyes red and swollen. She looked defeated, broken. I walked in and closed the door behind me. "You ruined everything," I said softly but with a deadly edge. "Your reputation, your life, our marriage. I hope it was worth it." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want it to be like this. I was stupid. I made a mistake." I shook my head slowly. "No, Lisa, you made a choice. You chose Jake over us. You chose betrayal over honesty. And now I've shown everyone what you really are." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a set of keys. "This is the house key. I want you out today. Pack your things. I want no contact, no excuses. Just leave and never look back." She looked at me like I was a stranger now. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "You're doing this because you're hurt, because you're angry." "No," I said coldly. "I'm doing this because I'm finally free. And I want you to remember one thing: betrayal might seem sweet at first, but in the end, it's just poison. And I'm finally detoxed. I handed her the keys, watching her clutch them as if they were her salvation. Goodbye, Lisa. Don't come back, ever. As she took her things and left, I sat on the now empty couch. I felt a strange sense of closure, like I'd finally closed a chapter I never wanted to open. I'd been betrayed, yes, but I'd also taken control. It was a bitter victory, but a victory nonetheless. And I knew deep down I'd never trust anyone the same way again. But that was okay. Because now I was in charge of my life. And that realization that I could still stand after betrayal felt like the greatest revenge of all. The house was finally quiet. No more her footsteps, no more her voice, no more her lies. Just me, sitting alone in the silence I once filled with love and trust. The weight of everything hit me anew. How deeply I'd been hurt, how betrayed I'd felt, and yet how oddly freeing it all was now that it was out in the open. Looking around, I realized that the hardest part was over. I had taken every piece of evidence, every secret, and turned it into my weapon. I'd made her face the truth, and I'd watched her crumble under its weight. I'd handed her the keys and told her to leave, never to come back. That act of finality felt like a liberation I'd never experienced before. I went to my desk and printed out the last of the evidence files, then sealed them into an envelope. I didn't need to look at them again. I knew what they contained. Enough to remind me that I'd been betrayed, but also enough to affirm that I'd taken control. I placed the envelope in a drawer, locking it away. Not because I wanted to forget, but because I needed to remind myself of what I'd done, how I'd fought back when everything was falling apart. This wasn't just revenge, it was about reclaiming myself from the wreckage of betrayal. As I sat on the couch, I took a deep breath. The sting of betrayal was still there, but I felt something else: resolve. I had survived. I'd faced the worst and come out the other side. The pain would fade, but the lessons wouldn't. I thought about the future. I'd rebuild piece by piece. Maybe I'd never truly trust again, but I'd learned to be cautious. I'd learned that betrayal lurks in the shadows of even the closest people, and you can't afford to let your guard down. The final thing I did was open a new account, change my number, and delete all traces of her from my digital life. I wanted nothing left to remind me of her. No ghosts of what once was. I wanted a clean start. As I shut the door on that chapter, I felt a strange sense of peace. Not the kind that comes from winning a battle, but the quiet relief of having reclaimed my dignity. I realized that this was the true victory, the moment I finally took back my life, my respect, and my trust in myself. Betrayal had nearly broken me, but it also showed me my strength. I had the power to move on, to rebuild, to be better than I was yesterday. The pain would heal and I would find happiness again, better, wiser, more cautious. And with that thought, I stood up, looked around at the empty house, and finally closed the door behind me. It was done. I was done. And I was finally free.